Dear respected teacher, dear brothers, dear sisters, dear sibling, dear beloved community, today is June the 6th in the year 2024. We are in the Upper Hamlet Dharma Cloud Temple. Today in the talk, we'll go on a journey together. Our retreat is called something in ancient and something modern. Can you help me? Ancient wisdom for modern times, applied ethics. Correct? Okay, so we're gonna go on a journey together. I've been preparing this since 4 a.m. We're gonna look at we have time. We can wait. Oh, sorry. Thank you, brother. We'll go on an arc where we will understand how mindfulness has to have the element of ethics in it for it to be called right mindfulness. And then from there, we would journey into the Eight Noble Path, which is a pathway for us to understand and to walk, because it has to be applied. And from looking deeply at the Eight Noble Path, we have an opportunity to learn to cultivate our minds, and also how do we practice nonviolent as an individual as well as a collective. So this is the arc, the journey that we will collectively go on today. When we already begin to learn mindfulness and be aware of the seed of mindfulness that is present in us, it is the awareness of the present moment that is manifesting in the very here and now, inside of us as well as around us. So we begin with the body. We also start to understand the feelings, the emotions, which translate into our bodily actions. Already in many traditions in Buddhism, instead of smrti, samadhi, prajna, mindfulness, concentration, and insight, they would say precepts, concentration, and insight. So precepts is like, in Sanskrit, it is shila. It is our moral conduct. It is how we conduct ourselves. And when we apply the precepts, we start to see how actions offer consequences. And the language precepts in the traditional form, it's very rigid, it's very straightforward. And our teacher, through language, has offered a different term that embraces both the mindfulness and the precepts, and he calls it the mindfulness trainings. The language of mindfulness training is very compassionate because it allows us to have time to walk towards the right path. So when we receive the mindfulness trainings, we're not looking for perfection. When we are training ourselves, there is a dance that we allow ourselves to see. When we do a wrong action, then we say, oh, it leads to this suffering. And because with awareness, you shine the light that this action leads to suffering, we have a direct connection, concentration, which bring forth insight. Because of these actions, because of these words, it creates suffering. Therefore, we want to cultivate our bodily actions, our way of thinking, and our speech in a way to help reduce suffering and relieve suffering and to transform suffering. So therefore, the practice of precepts, the practice of the trainings is already mindfulness. But in our daily life, we have to develop the foundation of mindfulness at a very concrete level so that it doesn't stay within the intellectual space. They're not just theories to learn and to recite, but the words have to become teachers as well as a companion for us, a light for us. So the path of the practice, when we come to the bodily action, to the foundational practice, such as the awareness of breath, the awareness of steps, the awareness of presence, the mindfulness energy is present. We are shining the light of the mindfulness energy towards what is outside of us. How do we show up for it? How do we interact with the external energy? How is it touching seeds of anger, of frustration, of annoyance that are present in us? And because we know of the trainings, that if we allow ourselves to follow, let's say, go down the stream of frustration, it will lead to actions and words that creates disharmony or disconnection. So in this moment, as we practice aware of the emotions that are present, our training is to be aware of the emotions, to see the person in front of us still as a person, and maybe there is wrong perceptions there. So we are training to have understanding, a deep understanding of where these roots of words of thinking are coming from. So when we start to understand that the precepts, the mindfulness trainings for us is mindfulness, we have to embody it, we have to apply it, and this becomes our temple, our portable monastery, our spiritual dimension that we take wherever we go. When we come home to the very here and now, and we are practicing in the moment, and we can recognize our habits, maybe a negative habit, a habit whether it is of rushing or a habit of frustration, our quick wanting to fix the situation. That is to see and to name the suffering. And as we shine the light of mindfulness towards a habit we can identify and call, and then we have the opportunity to see the root of the suffering. And we start with ourselves first. Because when we start with ourselves, we start to allow ourselves to see that we are not perfect. And we have seeds that have been transmitted to us from blood ancestors, our closest ancestors, our parents, from society, from the community. And with this insight, we are taking the past into the present moment. And when we practice the present moment, it is not to ignore the past or ignore the future, but the practice of the 3 times, the insight and the teachings of the 3 times in our tradition. We have to understand that it weaves the past into the very here and now. So when we are practicing mindfulness of the here and now, we are transforming a habit energy. We are not only transforming for oneself, we are also transforming for our parents, our ancestors. And we take our life, we take our energies, our habits into our own responsibility. This is the key of freedom of mindfulness. And our teacher has shared that when we studied the 4 Noble Truths, the first Noble Truth, dukkha, is ill-being. And this is a noble truth that all of us, we can share, we can identify, we can feel the pain, we can feel suffering. And this is a shared experience of mankind. It's part of the package of being alive. And this is a truth that none of us, we can escape. So because of this truth, we call it noble. Because when we can touch our suffering, we can also practice to expand our hearts and our mind to see that also our beloved ones have suffering. This is a practice to learn to expand our heart of love and understanding. And in ill-being, the root of ill-being, it also touches understanding, which gives us insight. And therefore, this is why in Buddhism, we don't see ill-being, we don't see suffering as an enemy. It is not something to get rid of or to suppress. But ill-being, when practiced and when shining the light of mindfulness, it offers us understanding. And therefore, it is a teacher in its nature. If we know how to shine the light of understanding towards ill-being, we can learn and we can grow. And we can experience. But sometimes direct experience is very important. Such as we may be serving food and there's a sign that says spicy. And some of us, we think, oh, we're good enough. I have endurance very high. And sometimes there are big chili chunks in the Brothers Hamlet that are hidden within the tofu dish. We know that eating chili stuff is suffering, but it can be a pleasant suffering also. And somebody can tell us, no, don't do it. I don't think your endurance is high enough. But we don't yet have the direct experience, so we don't have data. We don't have enough data to tell us that this dose is not good for us. So therefore, we venture into the world of the unknown. And we suffer. We may be eating is in total noble silence, sweats. We know we're not supposed to get out of the dining hall. But we can't handle this, so we go and relieve our suffering, whether with water or with some rice milk or oat milk. But then we have data. then we start to have experience. We start to understand our own capacity. And so suffering in this light becomes also a communicator. So such as when we practice in the present moment, we can start to say hello and smile to our suffering. Our teacher has said that if we know how to suffer, we will suffer much less. That means the suffering is there, my student. Suffering is present. The ill-being is there. But don't be allergic and afraid of it. But if we know how to suffer, then the suffering doesn't become a burden, but it becomes nutriment for our understanding, for our love, and our capacity. So the first noble truth, this is ill-being, suffering. The second noble truth, as we practice smriti, as we practice mindfulness, it is start to see the root of our suffering. The Buddha has shared that everything needs food to survive. Everything needs nutriment. So our habit energy are also conditioned. And once we start to identify the conditions, we start to see it. We have aha. We have moments of small enlightenment. Enlightenment is not something after 20, 30, 40, 50 years of practice. But enlightenment is when we see it and we go, oh, this is where this is coming from. But seeing is not enough. The fourth noble truth is the path leading to well-being. And this takes courage. This takes reflection. Because it may require us to abandon a way of life that nurtures the suffering. And we may identify very deeply to suffering. And we can even become addicted to suffering. And because we see that that suffering is our identity, and to remove from it is scary. It may even feel lonely. And when we see, the second noble truth is to understand and to see the root of it. The third one is the cessation. Once we see, well-being becomes present. And our teacher has shared that recognizing that well-being is present, is possible. We're able to transform our ill-being. Thai calls this is our free will. So mindfulness is also action with free will. And freedom also comes with a lot of responsibility. And so when we look at the path that is leading to well-being, we can start to shine the light to our way of life and identify where it is becoming a hindrance for our own aspiration. The Buddha calls this the path, the noble Eightfold Path. Today I feel like a professor. I normally barely use the whiteboard in Dharma Talks. And today I channel a little bit of Thai. In, uh, in Buddhism, we call ethics Đạo đức, the path with virtue, the path of virtue. So for us, we see that the ethics is a pathway. And a pathway that is broad and open. We are all walking that path. And the beauty when we understand it as a path, it is not something set in stone. And one of the essence of Buddhism, it is to be adaptable, to be open, to speak to the modern times. We have to bring the ancient wisdom into the present moment. Sometimes it's skillful means, the choices of words we will use, the terminology, depending on the community that is in front of us, the audience that is in front of us. And so the path of ethics for us is not something to be rigid and to suppress. It is like in the 5 mindfulness trainings and the 14 mindfulness trainings, we always start with the sentence, aware of the suffering created by fanaticism, etc., etc. Aware of the suffering created by consumption, etc., etc. So there is always the light of mindfulness. And the first light of mindfulness that we shine on is how is our path that we are leading and we are walking, is it contributing to more suffering, or is it helping relieve suffering? And here we have to learn to develop our right view. Right view in Buddhism, it is the view of interconnectedness, of interbeing. It is the view to help remove the self that is here, the pride, the ego. Because when we shine the light of meditation and of reality to ourselves, we have to be able to understand that we are made of non-self element. Reflecting on each individual, we can recognize our father, our mother that is present. We can recognize our spiritual ancestors that are present. We can see our teacher Thai, not of a historical figure of the past, but of someone whose teaching is alive today, and we embody that. Reflecting on oneself, we start to see the non-you element. And this meditation on removing the self in the self is to help expand our understanding and our feelings. Our feeling of superiority. Because when we think that as human beings, we have the right to take, to extract, and to remove, it comes from a place of self. It comes from a place of ignorance that we can only exist if we eliminate a wrong perception. Maybe we think they are a threat to our identity. So this view that of difference, of duality, and this duality, we have to shine the light into our personal experience. When we hear the informations and the news of the suffering, we can be in touch with the pain, we can in touch with the grief, we can in touch with the destruction. And for some of us, when these seeds are touched, maybe the seed of violence also becomes very present in us also. Or the seed of shame also arise. And therefore, in that present moment, our thinking, our view can start to discriminate. We start to other each other. And this othering is in a way of a punishment already, an attitude of punishment. So we have to be mindful and attentive to the energies that manifest in us. It is not ignoring, but it is acknowledging. And we know that that seed of war, that seed of violence, and that seed of destruction is also present in each and every one of us. And when we practice right view is the absence of all views. Right view is the absence of all views. And this is to guide us on the cultivation of the four immeasurable minds, the great four energies of loving kindness, of compassion, of joy, of inclusiveness. So cultivating right view can remove us from duality and can center us on the path of right action, cultivating true love that embodies these four elements. And in order to nurture and to nourish our right view, we have to shine the light of mindfulness in the next three paths. And that is right thinking, right speech, right bodily action, or just action. And we call this the triple action. And in the light of Buddhism, we also call these three our karmas, our daily karmas that we produce on a daily basis. When we practice the second noble truth, the source of our suffering, we can shine the light of what we are consuming through our eyes, our ears, our senses. And how does that build up our way of thinking? The thoughts that we create is already action in Buddhism. And those thoughts become energy that we first receive. We receive our own karma of thinking. And when our thinking is not embodied with mindfulness, it can translate into speech. And we know the power of speech. Words have the power to heal, the power to build, the power to reconcile. But as well as speech has the power to discriminate, to hate, to punish. So right speech is a cultivation. It is a continuous practice that we can always continue to develop and be better. Right action. This comes to our bodily actions. The way we conduct ourselves is our transmission. The way we show up, the way we offer our presence, these are all transmission. For all of us who are mothers and fathers, we know that our children not only learn from our way of speaking, but they copy our bodily action. So bodily action already is a direct karma in the present moment. So when we practice right action, we start to shine the light of awareness. And this is why in our trainings, when we come to Plum Village, we always invite everyone to slow down a little bit, to reduce their gears that they're in autopilot. Because by slowing down, the action of slowing down is already the resistance of our habit energy. And when it is something resisting, it brings our thinking, our way of thinking into our actions. And when we allow ourselves to slow down, we can be more attentive to how we are showing up in our bodily action. And this practice, on a very concrete basis, when I was a novice and our mentor were guiding us in our mindful manners, he said, don't be greedy and try to be mindful 24/7. And I was. I'm very competitive. If my brother is a good practitioner, I want to be better. I have a competitive seed in me. And he said, each week, just pick one action that is not in the schedule that you will commit, and you make that your mindful practice. Whether it is opening the door, whether it is boiling the water, something very concrete. And you build that into an automatic mindfulness habit. And you build that gradually through the weeks. And you can imagine how expansive your actions become. And believe me, after some time, you take it for granted, you forget. You gotta come back to foundation, coming back to the basic. coming back to the beginner's mind. Very recently, in in my role as an elder brother, I have a regret right now, and it's my three actions. And there was a younger brother who came and shared with me very openly how there's two times in my action that I hurt him. And he's been carrying it for months. And when I heard this, it was very difficult to swallow. Because on the basis, I thought we're cool. Because we do things together. But it became a thorn. Those actions became a thorn in his interaction with me. And when I was listening to the recount of my actions and my words, you know, the first thing that I did was I was judging him. You young brother, I've been here for 22 years. Are you kidding me? You can't even handle that? And in my mind, it was so quick that I was othering him right away. And my body was very rigid. My chest was tight. And my pride was hurt. And unfortunately, my mindfulness wasn't strong enough. And I used some words that were not kind as a defense mechanism. He gave me a karate chop, I did a block, but I have to give one back too. And only in the last few days, I realized how unskillful that was. And how quickly, in our righteousness, in my righteousness, as an elder brother, I said, your view is wrong. Cut communication from the get-go. And I tried to repair it during the conversation. And I hope the brother is in this hall today. Dear brother, I really am regretful of my attitude and my quick way of response and my unskillfulness in listening and replying. Because if those words were thorns 2 months ago, or more than 2 months ago, even a year ago, then that session we had can be thicker thorns for another few years. So I really am regretful of my speech and my thinking. Dear brother, please forgive me. Right thinking, right speech, right action. Our right livelihood, our livelihood. This is a koan, a deep reflection for each and every one of us to know that the conditions that we have around us and the conditions we put ourselves into, they also build and create our way of thinking, speech, and action. So when we look at our livelihood, Is it supporting our deepest aspiration? Is it supporting the path that we would like to embark on? And there are also those of us who are bodhisattvas, who live a livelihood to be in the midst of the beast, to also help change the beast. So there are great vows of bodhisattvas. But when we want to have this strength and have this capacity, we always have to take refuge in the three jewels, in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and particularly the Sangha. There's a wonderful story that our teacher wrote. It's called The Pine Gate. It tells the story of a hero. And there was 3 students, 2 students and 1 teacher. And one of the student was, after training for many years, was very eager to go down the mountain and enter into the world and to help relieve suffering. He was young, engaged, ready for action. And there's a moment when the teacher have to also learn to let go and let the student experience the world. But the teacher, when he left the mountain, he gave him a mirror. And this mirror is to reflect things as they are. So this is fiction that our teacher was writing. And there were demons that have entered into the world and hide themselves behind human form. And this mirror would help identify each individual as their true nature. And this is the embodiment of mindfulness, the light of mindfulness that shines. And the second element is a sword, the sword to cut through. And the story goes on, he becomes a hero, he fights many battles. And at the beginning, he was very faithful, very determined with the instruments that his teacher have given him. But as he continued to be a hero, he felt he didn't need these instruments anymore. He has enough insight. He has enough clarity to identify who are demons and who are not. Pride. And one moment, he was very tired, very exhausted after a very long time. And in the back of his head, he said, I need to return home, return back to the temple, to go on a retreat. But the gate to the temple is a pine gate. And this gate has been warded with spells to keep demons out. And when he arrived at the gate wouldn't open. And he tried all his might to go through. And no matter what, the gate would not open. And in this moment, despair, sadness, all of these emotions starts to come. And so he goes to the riverbank to refresh himself. And here comes his younger brother after many years of not being connected. And he's going to the river to fetch to bring some water up to the temple. And his younger brother sees his older brother, has so much joy. My brother, so good to see you. How have you been? Why are you so sad? And the older brother was able to recount to the younger brother. He's been trying to get into the temple, trying to return home, but the gate won't open. And he was crying on his brother's shoulder. And the younger brother said, well, in principle, the gate should open. It just doesn't open to demons. Do you still have the mirror that the teacher gave you? He said, yes, I do. Have you ever tried looking at yourself? And in that moment, he pulled out the mirror. And with great shock, he threw the mirror away because he realized that he himself has become exactly what he was relieving people from. And in that moment, disbelief took over. And his younger brother said, it's okay. You got me. I'll take you through the gates because the gate will open for me. And the story ends. And when I read this and I reflect on this, how important sangha is, how important friendship is to keep us on track, to remind us of our beginner's mind, to remind us of the ethics that we want to conduct ourselves with. And the world outside has so much temptation, so much callings to drag us off the right path. And this is why communities and friendships are so crucial, so important. So for all of us bodhisattvas, I have a friend who sometimes she jokes with me, maybe I just go to Plum Village and just sweep the grounds and cut the grass. I'm like, you're kidding. I don't believe you. That's not your way of life. And she's like, you're right. A part of me is I need to be in the beast to change the beast. And I said, yes, and don't forget about the mindfulness trainings. We all receive the mindfulness trainings. It's a ceremony. It's a one time that the community is all there for us. But are we seeing the mindfulness trainings also as our teacher? The best person to shine light on our own ethical path is when we really reflect on our way of thinking, our way of speech, and our way of actions. Right livelihood. Then we have the practice of right diligence. Diligence here in the light of the Plum Village tradition is being diligent at what seeds we are watering on a daily basis. So when we study Buddhist psychology, we know that we have many seeds that are present in us, 51 mental formations. And on a daily interaction, there are seeds that are being nurtured. So as a practitioner, what are we watering each day? What seeds are we watering on a daily basis? And this becomes our freedom. This becomes our responsibility. And this is where we take the courage to change habits if there are behaviors and habits that we always relapse in. And yes, we may need a community to support us. We may need conditions to help us break free from the cycle. So, right diligence. How do we set up our schedule? How do we set up our day? When we come to Plum Village, we give you a schedule. And this schedule is like the backbone of the whole community, is our harmony. But when we leave Plum Village, we have to be the artist ourselves in our daily life of where can we have these moments that the seeds of mindfulness we get to water, the seeds of concentration we get to water, the seeds of love, of understanding. And when we see the seed of violence or hatred come up, it's our diligence to care for it, be with it, and to give it a chance to transform. Then right mindfulness, right concentration, and right view. Why right mindfulness? Because there's wrong mindfulness. If mindfulness is being created and curated in order to just develop our greed, capitalism is very alive in the mindfulness world now. And we can identify and see it. And if we are teachers and the ones offering, what is our intention when we practice mindfulness and when we're offering mindfulness? And mindfulness is always mindfulness of something. Mindfulness of suffering, mindfulness of happiness, mindfulness of our habits, etc. And the development of concentration is a practice that we do on a daily basis when we learn to take refuge in our breathing, for example. It is giving us a concentration where we don't become entangled in our thoughts. And we can guide and we can concentrate our presence. And this concentration today is so needed in a time of where communication through technology, there's a lack of real presence when we're with one another. And there's a lot of distraction around. So the commitment of developing our concentration in presence, for example. Be mindful of your hands. Is it searching for the phone in our pocket? Because that's very real. And it's not something to cut off fully, but we have the power to cut off in that moment. I will not take refuge in my phone when I'm with this community, with a friend on the path. Because there is a real energy of not being present and disperse. And so practitioners, or spiritual practitioners on this path, we are already against a particular stream. And there is a development that we are partaking in ourselves when we practice mindfulness. And we practice these ethics, these mindfulness trainings, in order for these understanding to be translated into our 3 actions: body, speech, and mind. Let us enjoy the sound of the bell together. With these practices that have been shared, and especially with the four immeasurable minds of love, there is also a seed that is being developed when we practice true love and true presence, and that is to also cultivate our inner peace, our true inner peace. And as a pathway to cultivating inner peace, we have to develop our active nonviolence energy. And our teacher has shared that that is the path that he takes, the path of nonviolence. And sometimes we hear the word nonviolence, we think is to not do anything. But that is wrong. And therefore, he also has shared that when we practice nonviolence, we can use the term to help the active nonviolence practice. And the nonviolence here, it is our commitment to the work of building peace, the work of cultivating the insight of non-discrimination, of right view. And the non-violence here first begins within ourselves, recognizing what manifests when we hear and we see the destruction and the killing. What violence is activated inside of us. I used to love war movies. And I used to have all these heroes, and they were all warriors or fighters to kill. And as a son of Vietnamese parents who are also part of the war, and from so many generations of war, the seed of violence is very real here. And when these reality of the present moment arrives, I can be in touch with all the violence and all the trauma that are alive here. And I can identify very clearly my seed of wanting to fight, to kill, to destroy. And my practice as a practitioner is to return and to see that if I don't transform this seed, if I don't transform this way of thinking, this will also continue to develop more fighting. Maybe the fighting within myself, the fighting in my community, the fighting in my society, and maybe a seed for another war. So the work of coming to the heart of views in our own seeds that we have received, this is a real difficult work. And our practice as a Buddhist, when we speak about the Dharma, we have to speak about the whole Dharma. And in the eighth realization of the great Bodhisattvas, their practice is, when practicing generosity, Bodhisattva considers everyone, friends and enemies alike, to be equal. They do not condemn anyone's past wrongdoings or even hate those presently causing harm. The harm that is already being caused is real. We can show up, we can call for the injustice that is happening, we can shine the light so that justice can be present. But how do we show up? That is the work of a practitioner. About a month ago, we hold a retreat for Asians growing up in the West. And in a Q&A, with the suffering that is happening in Gaza, and the pain, seeing the suffering of the Palestinians, and the suffering of the Israeli, and the suffering of all the armed conflicts that are present, they all stood up together in a Q&A. And with their palms joined, in unison, in silence, and in the heart of wanting to bring compassion to this moment, and to ask for guidance. And it was a teaching for me in that moment, how powerful unity can become, and how the actions of standing with compassion and presence is already a voice, is already the deep work of cultivating peace and calling for peace. Because in them, I recognized there was no hatred, there was no anger, there was despair, yes. There was suffering, yes. There was tears, yes. But there was the aspiration to relieve suffering. And that moment, a lot of hope was born in my heart. And we can see there are many ways of speaking a language of peace. And there are many voices that needs to be heard depending on the situations and circumstance. And when we practice nonviolent and peace work, it always has to embrace the energy of reconciliation. And to see that what we are removing is not the human. We are working non-violently to help see the discrimination, the ignorance, the greed, the violence, and the hatred. And our work is to help remove that wrong perception, that wrong view, in order to build a foundation of peace. And this takes all of our skillfulness. This takes all of our practice of mindfulness. And I recently listened to a lot of Thay's teaching. And in one of Thay's lecture, in his Dharma Talk, he shared that During the war, many people wanted Thai to take a side. And Thai said, I don't take a side because my path is the path of active nonviolence, is to help relieve the suffering. And when I say I don't take a side, it means that we are practicing to not oppose the other as a person, as a human, but to help them abandon their violent way, discriminative way. And we try to make them our friend into an ally. So that is the meaning of choosing. And this needs real practice. This needs deep insight. This needs a practice of great love in order to do so. So this is part of the heart and the insight that Thai has gained during his own lifetime and his path towards peace. And we know that the work of inner peace begins with each and every one of us. And from there, it gets expanded, it gets rippled into communities, into society, nation level, and the world. As Thai said, his practice is even when he recognized a killer, an aggressor, a terrorist. Thai still practiced to see a seed of understanding and compassion in them as a human being. We want to help remove the wrong perceptions, the anger, the hatred, the fear, and not to remove the person. So this is for all of us to reflect and to contemplate on how it is in our practice that we are nurturing our work towards peace. And we can learn from one another in this aspect. In 1991, Thai has written, even if we are able to transport all the bombs to the moon, the roots of war, the roots of bombs are still in our hearts. And sooner or later, we will make more bombs. It is most important that we take care of the roots of war that reside in our minds, in our hearts. Working for peace means to uproot war in the hearts of humans. And this is the insight in order to touch right view and to continue to nurture our non-discrimination seed. We may not be able to do it alone, but as a collective, we can continue to empower each other and remind each other of this truth. We see that this is a truth. Because in our moment of great suffering, it can also be a moment of great opportunity. And as we see that in this, the root of conflicts are very much also rooted in the ways of violence that are cultivated in this world. And these are just naming a few. The physical violence, the economical violence, the political violence, the psychological, and the discrimination, the othering. And when we are cultivating our seed of nonviolence, to demolish the view of the three complexes of superiority, of inferiority, and of equality. This equality here is comparing each other. It's not the deep inclusiveness of the four immeasurable minds, but in this complex of, you're not as good as me, or I want to be as good as that. It is still the seed of discrimination. And when in our practice we can continue to nurture and touch the non-self element in us, we become much more expansive. Our love becomes much more rich. And our love becomes more powerful because it has the wave of understanding there that can push through and can break through. So these practice of the three complexes can be also seen as one light of deconstructing the system of discrimination, of decolonization. It's because of superiority complex that we have such suffering and such discrimination. So when we talk about peace, we also talk about all the discrimination, the racial, the human right, the equality to our communities in the LGBTQ plus also, and in the communities of who we may seem are different than us. And we have to shine this light of non-discrimination to all. So our peace work, even in the light of shining right awareness, we have to be mindful of the violence of even shining this light. And this is where speech becomes very intentional. How we choose to address and shine the light. Is it bringing more discrimination within? Is it othering one another? Can we still be embracive and still see that the other person, they have the capacity to understand? In this moment, maybe just a little bit limited. But our skillfulness, our artist as a meditator, is to find ways to help this person remove wrong perception. So the work of active nonviolence, it begins with our thinking, our speech, and our action. And we can shine the light of our livelihood, our diligence, of the seeds that we are cultivating. Are we nurturing our seed of awareness? Just like we eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Or do we not have time for meditation? Or is meditation meaning to sit still and do nothing? There's many ways to still be an active mindfulness practitioner, even in busy moments. We can be very committed to this path of practice. And therefore our own understanding of ethics and our understanding of the mindfulness trainings continue to be developed, continue to grow deeper. So just a recap before we end. So we can already understand and see that the practice of mindfulness is the embodiment of right ethics. And in the path of ethics, we see the path as a training. And that's very compassionate, this language. It allows us to be kind to ourselves. When we have a shortcoming in our own precept bodies, in our own mindfulness trainings, we haven't failed. We make mistakes, but we stand up again. And there was a time when my first year of attending Thai, there was a nun that came back from the United States, and Thai invited the sister for tea. And as I was making tea for Thai and for his guests, Thai gave the motion, Phap Huu, let Thai do it. I was a very young attendant. And in my mind, something as simple as making tea, Thai is not giving me permission to do. I felt very inferior. And I felt also like, what did I do wrong? That he's not even allowing me to make tea. And I just sat there and watched Thai make tea. And as he handed out the tea, he accidentally spilled one of the teacups. And so I ran to the kitchen to get the towel. And before wiping, Thai said, give me the towel. Thai will wipe it. So in my mind, okay, it's game over, Phap Huu. This is your last day of attending Thai. I was like, you're not even gonna let me clean up a simple mess. Sitting there in deep despair. The mind can go in 1,000 directions. Yeah? And then in that moment, Thai started to clean the puddle of tea. And Thai said to the sister and to me, the attendant, said, we all make actions. And it was Thai's action that spilled the tea. So Phap Huu may give me a tour, but it is my action. So Thai needs to clean it up himself. And then he addressed the sister. Thai never asked any of you to be perfect. When you become my student, was there a declaration that all of you have to be perfect monastics or perfect practitioners? Did you sign a contract like that? No. We all are allowed to have shortcomings. But it is with our own will and actions that we stand up again. And that we continue the path and to have faith in the path. And to have faith in the practice. One moment of error shouldn't be the whole picture of the path of practice. And when I heard that, I went, oh my God, thank you. And I saw how skillful Thai was. He orchestrated this whole thing. But he didn't tell me anything. I said, Thai, next time tell me. Let me be part of the plan, you know. But Thai orchestrated this whole incident in order to be a direct teaching. So the path of practice, the Eight Noble Path, aware of the suffering. So our ethics, to be aware of the suffering, relieving, being flexible. And our non-violent practice, beginning within, seeing the violence that are also present in us, smile to them. And by transforming them, we're doing great service for humanity. And not just the human world. Because as we know, every destruction to humans is also destructions to beyond human elements also. And to end this talk today, I would like to invite our brothers and sisters to offer a song. And this song is a poem by Thai. And we feel that this poem is very relevant to this present moment. This poem Thai wrote in 1977 when Thai and Sister Chang Kaung and others were doing active nonviolent work and to help the boat people that were fleeing the country. And it is called A Prayer for Land. I'd like to read the poem as our siblings are preparing. A prayer for land. Lost in the tempest on the open seas, our small boat drifts. We seek for land during endless days and endless nights. We are the foam floating on the vast ocean. We are the dust wandering in endless space. Our cries are lost in the howling wind. Without food or water, our children lie exhausted until they can cry no more. We thirst for land, but are turned back from every shore. Our distress signal rise and rise again, but the passing ships do not stop. How many boats have perished? How many families lie beneath the waves? Lord Jesus, do you hear the prayer of our flesh? Bodhisattva Kuan Yin Avalokiteshvara, do you hear our voice? O fellow humans, do you hear our voice from the abyss of death? O solid shore, we long for you. We pray for mankind to be present today. We pray for land to stretch its arms to us. We pray that hope be given us today from this very land.